arise in the first place? You know, I don't know. Some people say, well, that goes back to human nature. Humans are naturally competitive, no? Sort of thing. But I don't know. Shared ICH and multinational nominations. The operational directives encourage multinational cooperation. And in operational directives 13 to 15, I think we mentioned that those are given priority. Those are viewed more favorably. Multinational nominations are examined as a priority. Inscriptions can be enlarged or reduced. So one of the things about it, let's say Belize and Grenada were to submit some joint nomination for drumming. We go ahead and do that, but later on, Trinidad and Guyana want to join. They have a similar, and they want to become party to the nomination. The nomination can be extended to include those countries. So that's something that also can happen at the international level. No? There's also a mechanism to share information on nomination plans, right? ICH fund itself, all state parties contribute. The General Assembly adopts a plan, usually in the form of a budget. The committee spends the funds according to the plan. And in terms of the ICH fund, it is primarily for international assistance. So more than 60% of the funds allocated annually go to international assistance. No? However, the irony is few state parties request international assistance. Congratulations, Grenada, you did it, right? And you are undertaking that now. Purposes of international assistance, Article 20. Safeguarding of ICH inscribed on the USL. Preparation of inventories. So that's a part of what you applied for and are doing now. You're proud of My Heritage Project. There's an inventorying exercise being undertaken, a pilot inventorying exercise, and so you're doing that now. National, sub-regional, and regional safeguarding projects. Any other purposes the committee may deem necessary, no? Maybe one of these days you want to do capacity building for NGOs by themselves, no? You could make an application just to do that. And then expand your inventorying exercise. Many things you can do, but that will come to you once you get through your first phase, no? Forms of international assistance, then, here are good examples. You can apply for studies of safeguarding, for provision of experts, training of staff, standard setting measures, creation of infrastructures, meaning policies, legal, and so on, equipment and know-how, financial and technical assistance. Here are the forms that usually go, and I shared the link in the last slide, and so you can access it on your own to look at it. But Form ICH04 deals with safeguarding projects in any amount or emergency assistance in any amount. Form ICH01 bis is used to nominate elements to the USL and simultaneously request international assistance for safeguarding. Form ICH05 is used for preparatory assistance. Form ICH06 is used for the register and also preparatory assistance to the register. Submit a practice to the register of good safeguarding practices. So when the time comes, you look at what it is you want to do and you can go to the form. Okay? So here's the procedure. We're in March. For requests over $100,000, the request will go to the evaluation body, then examined by the committee, and a decision comes in November or December of year 2. So we're in 2022, the decision won't come until November, December 2023. For preparatory assistance, however, which is smaller sum, that would fall into a category that would be examined by the Bureau. And so I think that is, no, Grenada didn't apply for preparatory assistance. You work directly with the Secretariat in order to get that done. But states would use that mechanism to get them started in preparing emergency requests or requests to the urgent safeguarding list and so on. On the left, there's an anytime category that you see there. You have requests that are of an emergency type, and those requests for under 100, up to $100,000, but we say under $100,000, which you did. And those go to the Bureau, and the decision comes back to you as soon as possible. The delay in your case was because of COVID and other conditions within the state, negotiating and all that sort of thing to get it into existence, no? So the quickest way to think of this, over $100,000, 2 years. Under $100,000, and for emergency situations, you can get a response more quickly, no? So criteria for granting international assistance. The committee will base its decisions on granting assistance on Operational Directives 12, criterion A1 to A7. Operational Directive 10 provides for additional considerations, which I showed you to be our criterion 9, pertaining to developing countries, which are not as heavily weighted as criteria 1 through 7. The committee may give greater weight to certain criteria or less considerations and less weight to others. No? But from what I've seen, criterion 1 through 7 is where it's at, right? Here you go. What is A 1 through 7? Is there, when it's assessed, your applications for international assistance, we will answer the question, to what extent is the community involved and is there community participation? Is the amount appropriate? Are the activities well conceived and feasible? Is there expected to be lasting results? Is the state party sharing costs? So is the state party saying that out of the $99,000 we're requesting, we are providing for 20,000 of that, or 10,000 of that, whether in cash or in kind, in terms of human capacity or resources or so on? Is it aimed to build capacity? Was previous assistance implemented according to the rules? So when Grenada gets through with this one and they report, when you apply again, one of the things we look at, okay, did Grenada got assistance? How well did they progress on that? Very well, okay, that's good, that's good. They're proven that they can move forward with a subsequent application, right? Sorry. So the criteria for granting international assistance provided for in Operational Directive 10, what would those additional considerations be? So 1, priority to maintain equitable geographic distribution. So one of the things that always arises in one way or the next at the international level, they say, oh, it's just the Asian countries getting funding. It's just the South American countries getting funding, right? And so what they try to do is to maintain equitable geographic distribution in terms of how funding is distributed. But it also depends on an issue Darrell raised for whatever reason or the other, which is a limitation in the region, is that for whatever reason, there aren't many countries applying in the first instance, no? All right, so priority is given to developing countries. Those requests involve international cooperation. Will assistance have a multiplier effect, stimulating other contributions? All right. So you'd want to say in your applications or argument, say what that looks like would be that the fund, as a result of the fund, the government will allocate over the next 5 years an additional $30,000 for ICH related work. That sort of thing, no?
Recording in progress.
In terms of preparatory assistance, the special forms and procedures, ICH 05, again, that is, I showed you that earlier, but it's used to prepare nominations to the urgent safeguarding list. ICH 06 is used to prepare proposals to the register. Could be used, for example, for preparation of required audiovisual material. This is when you're asking for preparatory assistance, no? Right? Yeah, so most of them require a sort of video to accompany the application, and that costs some money, so you could request support for that. For the provision of expert assistance, maybe you'd want an expert to come in and assist you with that process. You can do that. Translation services, right? Translating from, like some countries have indigenous languages, right? And you need to translate that to English, to French, or whatever the language is. You can also get that sort of assistance. And the organization of community consultations. No? And I had here that we would take a look at the form, one of the forms. We are already at time, but let me pull it up and so you can see what one of them looks like. Let me stop sharing here. So I'll share my screen so we can see how we go directly from a search site to the actual location of the form. Let's see where I can find that. All right. Let me know. Can you see my my search engine? Can you see that? Can you see my search engine?
You see the slide there.
Oh, you're still seeing the slide?
Point. Yeah.
Okay. Let me get rid of that. Get rid of that. What are you seeing now?
Right, your desktop.
All right, let's start from the desktop then. Hold on. Can you see, what are you seeing now? Desktop still?
Right, now we see search.
All right, search. So we'll put up here UNESCO ICH, right? Let's see what we come with. So intangible cultural heritage, home culture sector, UNESCO, we click there. So something we talked about before we get to the forms, here is on the right, you can see my mouse and highlights. You can see the mouse moving.
Yep.
Here are 12 ethical principles. And so you might want to download that and save that for your references, no? Here are the ethic, when we were talking about codes of conduct and research principles and so on, here they are that have been adopted by UNESCO in terms of ICH. So these could probably, you can use this as reference to develop your own, no? So I will go back to the main page. I'll go back to the main page here. And I will go to convention, right? Click on convention here. Everybody seeing that? And I will go to forms here. And so here you have a full breakdown when you get to this point in your implementation process. It provides the guidance you need, no? So if you're applying, if you're going to nominate an element to the urgent safeguarding list, here, you have the instructions over here and everything that's would be required. So if you're going, for example, if you want to do a nomination along with international assistance request for financial assistance, you wouldn't use the ICH1 form, you would use the ICH1 bis form. No? If you just want to request financial assistance to prepare urgent safeguarding list nomination, then you have the ICHO form 5 here, form here. And this is what we were referring to just now as preparatory assistance, no? You have instructions here. And it gives you the deadlines on the far right. So you have the representative list and the appropriate forms. The register of good safe practice, the forms here, the instructions here, the deadlines here. Just to give you an idea. Now let's open one of them. Let's open the nomination form for urgent safeguarding. I think I might need to reshare screen again, but tell me if you see. Sorry. Let me stop sharing and try and share that separately. Sorry. Why is it not moving from there? All right, there we go. Can you see a form that says UNESCO Safeguarding List ICH1 form? Can you see that? What are you seeing on the screen now?
List of intangible cultural heritage.
You're seeing a form that says list of intangible cultural heritage in need of urgent safeguarding?
Yeah.
All right, good. So this is the form that you would be required to fill out if you are nominating an element to the international level, to the list of intangible cultural heritage in need of urgent safeguarding. I'm just going to scroll through it, no?
Mm-hmm.
Name of the element.
I have something to share.
Name of the element in the language and script of the community concerned.
Move up your slides, please.
Hmm?
Move up the page because all I'm seeing is the heading.
Ah, I see. I'm actually moving it, but
Oh.
No.
let me see something. 1 second.
Can you, Nigel, let them know that I want to say something?
Yeah.
How about now? Is it moving now?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
All
Nigel, Adriana is coming in now.
Yes, Adriana.
I'm going.
Go ahead. Yep.
Hi, Nigel. I just want to share with everybody attending that I just received this week recently an email from the UNESCO Caribbean cluster offices. Is in regards to an open to the public invitation for an online event that is how to apply to the funds of the 2003 convention for the safeguarding of the ICH. So I will be sending that because they are the UNESCO Living Heritage Entity is organizing 3 information sessions, one for each of the regions, including Latin America and the Caribbean region. And the date is to be conducted, that session is March 24th. So there's a deadline to register. It's not necessary to be like a state party ministry. It's just anybody concerned about heritage, as we are. You're welcome to submit or enroll, because it's important, because we will treat there, or they will treat there in this case in a more deeper way how to propose and submit future proposals. That's the thing that I want to, the news. Thank you.
Excellent, excellent. So that comes up on the 24th of March, right?
So
And you'll be-
Nigel?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, because Sailor is.
Go ahead, Nigel.
Yeah, excellent. And that comes up on the 24th of March. So that would, and you'll be sharing that. So please, if you're interested in this sort of technical side of it, feel free to participate in that activity. Okay. So here we are. The parties A, the name of the element in B, the name of the element in the language and script of the community concerned in B2. Other names of the element, there might be other names by which it's referred to. Name of the communities, the geographic location and range of the element, the designated contact person, whoever that person might be. Maybe it might be your Secretary General, it might be your minister, it might be the head of your focal point entity. whoever is most closely affiliated with the production of the file. Identification and definition of the element. Here are the domains that we talked about. So you'd have to identify the corresponding domain. A brief description of the element. Notice that their word counts are located, no? Over here. Who are the bearers and practitioners? How are the knowledge and skills transmitted? What are the social functions? Does this look familiar to you? What are the social functions? Yesterday, in that form that you took home, this is where that appeared when we talked about describing the element. This is where that appears. 2, you'll have to prove that it's in need of urgent safeguarding. Right? 3, what are the safeguarding measures? And they have different categories here. Are you doing transmission, identification, preservation, promotion, revitalization? Right? You will have to say what the state is doing and what the communities are doing. The proposed plan. You'll have to give a timetable, a budget. You already have experience with that. You just did that in order to apply for this fund, for this international assistance. For the competent bodies, the Grenada National Trust, and so on. Community participation. You'll have to explain how free, prior, and informed consent was acquired. You'll have to comment on respect for customary practices governing access to the element. What were the community organizations or representatives concerned? Is it included in an inventory? Date of inclusion, that sort of thing. How often is it inventoried? And then you will have to provide all these accompanying documents, no? So there is a video, photographs, the free, prior, and informed consent provided by the community, the grant of rights to use the video, grant of rights to use the photographs. So you'd have to go through that. Once you get through this process, you sign and you send. Right? Developing this would probably take 3 to 6 months, a year maybe, depending on if you start working diligently, you know. If you have your inventory in place, then that's not a problem, because then you can just fill that in. But what if you, and the descriptions and so on. But once you, the part will be getting the communities involved, no? That will be the key part, telling, and they know what you're doing, why you're doing it, and so on. So that was just an example of the form, ladies and gentlemen. And just to go over this issue of going through the process, conceptualizing what constitutes international cooperation and applying for international assistance, all right? So that's it for today. We're at the end. Are there any comments that you want to make before we close off for the day from the floor, Zoomland, and in the room? I see Margaret has several comments there. Margaret, do you want to say what those are? What your comments are?
No, I was just, well, no. The only thing that I do have a question about is the form that you mentioned, and because we talked about school so much, does UNESCO have a separate form for parents to provide permission for us to talk to their children, or is that expected to come from the state level?
That comes at the state level.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll have to sign.
All right, Adriana, you want to address what you have included in the chat there, please?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yes, there are several concerns about what will be the next steps and what will be the criteria when approach for the upcoming activities. and certain key roles or activities, initiatives happening within this project. So I was letting know the person who was chatting that first of all, the proposal itself and the budget is available to anyone, and I shared the link. So anyone who wants to see the activities, the timetable, well, the timetable we share at the beginning because it has been outdated since we received the funds recently. But a part of that, they can see how much it will be allocated for each of them. So as we are going through this workshop, at the end of each session, we are having like these micro meetings with brainstorming and trying to put together all the concerns. And I know that tomorrow there's a section for participants' recommendations, but one of them is, for example, the next workshop, which criteria we are using to select those people, because we have a limited budget, because some of them or most of them or part of them will be conducting the ICH inventory fieldwork, but we are very surprised and very impressed about the participation, but the budget that we have is for 25 persons. So we have to work all these findings that we didn't expect it, but is a normal part of any project. It has one thing is what you write, and another thing is what you find when you are implementing it. So these are these aspects. Okay, so we want to bring, and part of tomorrow's participation, some thoughts that we have been brainstorming about what we think it will be that criteria, and we don't want to like leave behind anybody. So those who are not selected, maybe if they have the time to, if they are motivated, committed, if they have the time, if they are retired people, how much are they connected with the local communities, or the community key leader or the community leader. So these are the things that we are discussing today after we finish this, and we come tomorrow with. And again, this is the first or initial thoughts. That doesn't mean that it will evolve. This will evolve, and it will be changing and adapted as we flow. So that's the things I want to say. And at the same time, we realize maybe not all the parishes, we don't want to, for example, favoritism any particular parish, because we want to treat all equal and have the same chance in terms of human resources and monetary resources. But at the same time, maybe we're thinking that maybe, and I'm saying because we are going to figure it out, it will be a good criteria, part of all the motivation, the community key roles, and so on. It will be the population. So we cannot send, for example, 7 technicians to one specific parish if the population is lower, because we always talking about human approach and to those communities, and that might imply human interactions and time investing and efforts. So we are finding this, and we just is part of what it is, and we will figure it out. So that's one of the only thing that I want to share about the things that we are seeing recently. Thank you.
And Nigel, just to add to what Adriana is saying, you may be aware of the normal process for dealing with these matters after workshops like these, but I'm pretty sure next step will be to bring some folks together to sort of highlight some of the things that we'll be doing next. Now, one of the things I was thinking about is having a ICH practice framework, right? Now, to do that work, we have, I will say, I was looking at not domains, but the zones. We have maybe about, I would say about 25 different organizations, right? And I'm pretty sure there are more out there. And we can't work with that, reflecting on what Darryl always says. Too many constraints. We're going to have multiple decision points. That's going to create a big slowdown. We don't have the resources to entertain everyone. So a reasonable number, and as Adriana was saying, that some people may be left out, but what would be a reasonable number for the next step from, based on your experience, to begin to work about building a practice framework, coming up with a policy statement or a focus or a priority statement that we can begin to use as a way to organize our work? What would be the optimal size group from your vantage point?
Mhm.
I think that Nigel.
Oh, he's not there? Oh, shoot.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
All right, the way this first consideration, the way the project is designed, right? One of the advantages that we've had in this first instance, in this particular phase of the project, is that we, while not everyone has been actively engaged in the discussions, we have a wider reach.
Mhm.
What would have normally happened at first, you would have had only 25 persons in a room, right? Interacting and so on. So right now you have a wider reach, and so there should be even if at an incremental level, there should be a wider bit of awareness, right? Which is a plus. When you go in now, when we do the face-to-face workshop now, we'll be working, you'll want to choose 25 persons who are going to be your hands-on trainers, right? Persons who will understand and will be able to adapt and play multiple roles. So if you're talking, and there might be several considerations for you. First, you're working with the school system. So will that involve your teachers? Are you going to involve practitioners who want to actively and can actively help you with this process? Knowledge parents. You want to involve the leaders of other NGOs and community agencies, right? Because I could easily see that you have persons from tourism, for example, actively engaged in inventorying, persons from culture, being a part of inventorying and documentation teams, persons from the various NGOs being part of documentation teams, no? Because you'll see that there are different roles and skill sets that will be brought forward. So you have persons who might be better at interviewing, persons better at photography, persons who enjoy making videos, persons who enjoy editing videos. You might want somebody from the media. So these are considerations you'd have to make. So the number for practical purpose will be smaller. But what you have to anticipate doing for after that now, you have to picture these persons in having the ability to train others, right? And so of this set of 25, if you get 10 persons who can do training, that's also good, right? Because you will have access to all the PowerPoints. You'll have a glimpse of what it actually requires to do the inventorying and documentation. You will have immersed yourself in it. And then you yourselves will determine what is a manageable structure, right? So what we did, I'll just give you an example. We created an ICH network. And we even have, to put it, we had grandmothers engaged in community inventory, right? And they would call our office and say, Mr. Nkalada, next week I have arranged to meet with Miss So-and-so over in this particular village, and I just wanted to know if you had some funding that could cover the cost of taking me over there. And I've arranged to, I have all the forms and everything already. My daughter will go with me and she will take the photographs and the video, and I will document how she cooks the pibil and the pork and the pig on the ground and so on. And sure. And then we make the arrangements and they go and do. So that's the kind of thing you want to happen, but you will know who's who as the situation goes forward, no? Right? And who's willing and who's able and want to remain engaged. But because your first, in the context of the project, your project is school-based, you have, I think your teachers might be critical there, right? And if you want to pursue that formal education system for ICH, then you want to keep your teaching sector engaged all the time, right? Your Ministry of Education people engaged. You want to keep your tourism people engaged, your culture people engaged, a few key NGO people engaged, a few key community representatives, practitioners engaged. Because I couldn't help but smile to myself. Is Marlene here today?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Marlene is here. When I hear Marlene speak, right, I said, I can picture her as an 80-year-old woman where everybody will be piled up at her house coming to try and get knowledge from her, right? I'm sure she's maybe 20-something years old today. But later on, with the knowledge that she has and the immersion and all that sort of thing, I can picture her being, it's that kind of person you're looking for, no?
Yeah.
Who has
Super granny.
knowledge. Yeah, super granny, right? That sort of thing. So, but Ezra,
Okay.
you guys will have to negotiate that process. Think about what you want to do, and then that will help to shape it, no? Mm-hmm. Think of yourself as trainers. Margaret, Adriana, Daryl, Dario, right? Rena, the persons, you have the skills already, no? So
I just want to add one thing, Ezra. Listen, the People's Revolutionary Government of Grenada had a program called Each One Teach One. So even though we identified 25 people who we're training specifically to be trainers, we want them to immediately think of one other person that would be their sidekick or their partner, because when you're going to interview somebody in a village, somebody has to hold the camera and film this while you focus on the subject. You can't be doing too many things, and it's good to have company. You're doing it, you're walking together. It's just more pleasant. And also, when you break yourself out into teams, the day that you can't make it, the other person could go. They can manage it. So you still keep your appointments, and the whole machine keeps rolling. So we need people to think in terms of teams, pairs, and immediately start thinking of who you're recruiting, who's your sidekick, who you like liming with on a Saturday. And this is a fun thing we're doing.
Yes,
Okay?
yes. That's true. That's it. You have me smiling again, because I have a very good friend. He's 74 years old, but he used to be like a public servant. And so he knows the whole country. Everywhere he goes, he knows it. So we're such good friends that he's like my, what do you call it? If I want to access a community, I do it through him, because chances are he knows the elders and the village leaders and so on. It's that sort of thing. You want to have that sidekick, like you're saying, right? Whoever, I like what you said, who you like liming with. That's a better way to, a good way to put it. Right?
Good.
Yeah,
Making it fun.
I just want to clarify something. Now that the process has begun for the GNT, funds have been sought and received for that process. Is it correct to say that another entity, another NGO cannot go back to UNESCO and say, okay, we want to seek funding for a project involving ICH? So is it closed off now to GNT, or anybody else can go back to UNESCO asking for funds for that same purpose?
All right, you can't do that now, because
Cannot.
You can't, not now, because this project is underway, right?
Right.
This project is underway. But in the future you can, keeping in mind that you would have to give the backdrop to what is happening now, and have this, because the community won't. So while GNT did the work, for in this case, as I understand it, it's the government that submits, right? It's the government that submits. So it's the same thing that will happen if another NGO wishes to do that in the future. You'll reference what's happening now, know where the process is, and then get the government to submit as well. No, that sort of thing, right? But it's not an impossible thing to do once this project has been completed. No.
Oh, okay.
But
the important thing too is that we would be happy to share whatever information is already there that we have gathered from this project, because part of the challenge is there are other similar projects that are done on a piecemeal basis. Data is already there.
Mhm.
And it would save us a lot of time and trouble if people could share that with us. And where we're going to be storing this data is going to be a public access point. So this whole business of stuff ending up in people's filing cabinets and so on, that's over.
Yeah.
That
And,
has to
and,
end.
Look for.
What
and
I want to, Israel,
Nigel,
Israel, if you
you know,
just allow
and
me one
as Darrell
second.
is saying, I mean, you're basically creating content for literature review, because
Mhm.
I had somebody that inquired whether or not they can participate because they're interested in culture for their dissertation. You know what I mean? So
Mm.
who knows? That person might come and do some heavy lifting just for that purpose. You know.
Mhm. You know, let me caution you on something though, as an outsider looking in. No, let me caution you on something. You don't want to. If that's how the country is and how things will be done effectively, then by all means. But you don't want to be doing things in a piecemeal, disjointed way,
No.
right? Because you will never get to the policy phase to safeguarding ICH in Grenada. You'll never get to setting up these necessary mechanisms for safeguarding on a whole. If you look at it at this project, you know, you might end up in trouble and you might end up competing with each other, no? And this is why one of the questions I asked earlier, I think 2 days ago, was what can you as institutions, individual institutions do on all the partners? This is, I think it's an opportunity for you to come together and to set up some national mechanism to work ahead.
Yeah.
No? So I'm just cautioning you for the purpose of nation building then, for the purpose of building social cohesion, for the purposes of safeguarding ICH in general in Grenada. I'm just giving my 2 cents as an outsider looking in, no? I just wanted to caution you on that.
Has to be like a continuity.
Right, building on the shoulders. So,
Okay.
Yes, Ezra, go ahead. You were saying.
I'm finished. I was just saying that explain what you mean, because you know, projects. You know, unless you're building on the shoulders of the previous one. You know, when I say building on the shoulders, closing a gap, they miss something, because that's what you do when you're doing a big dissertation. You pay respects to everybody who are before you, and then you add into that body of knowledge, so, or body of information. So if you scaffold in, it's fine. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
but
that's
if you
the word.
just have a independent things going, that's what you're advising against.
Scaffolding is a good word. Building on what's below. A thing to think about is that Grenada is not very big. What's the population of Grenada?
100.
Hello?
100,000 persons.
Well, Nigel, a man described Grenada as a man, a donkey, and a gun. So not very much.
Oh hell! A man, a donkey, and a gun. Oh my God, that's terrible. That's terrible. Imagine how I feel in Belize. We're at the northern border, 110 million, and the western border, 13 million, right?
Yeah.
So probably just the gun out of the equation. But of all the persons gathered in this meeting, I'm almost certain that all of you know of each other or have met each other in other contexts. Is that right?
No, I haven't seen names here. I know a few persons, but quite a number of persons I don't know.
Okay. Well, it's probably just from my experience then in where I live. It's like you feel like everybody knows everybody, you know. And so the point of it all was you'll be working. I wanted to make was that you'll probably be relying on the same persons going forward anyway, you know. And trying to add and broaden the network going forward. So working together is good, no? That's the best thing I can say.
Yeah.
All right, Ezra, you want to wrap us up for the day, please? So tomorrow, before we end, tomorrow, what we'll be doing, the second segment of the timetable will be moved up. That segment where Adriana is doing the detailed description of the project, and we'll be looking at recommendations and so on. That will be moved up into the first segment, right? Then we will revisit that list again, just to see what Darrell has come up with overnight. And then some real work will happen where Ezra had the assignment over the week of conceptualizing a framework based on all these questions and discussions that have been going on. So he's not coming with an answer, but a proposed framework. Is that right, Ezra? Some sort of...
Yeah, I'm thinking of, sorry.
Method.
Yeah, I'm thinking of method. Well, it's a framework, really trying to get at a practice, because we all over the place. As I said yesterday, we insular, and we want to make sure that a practice will bind us together. And that framework will involve just about every participant in terms of they're giving us the bits and pieces they have, so we can, one, have a statement, the focus priority or focus statement or policy. We have all the practices and processes they're going to be using, and then all the evidence they presently have or will have. We need to have all of these things in one place so we can make sense out of it. So tomorrow, that framework, practice framework, will be provided.
All right.
Good. And remember that this project brought us all together. As Gloria said, some of the people she didn't know before and all that. So we'll just try to stay together. So that's part of the objective. Tomorrow when we leave, we create a temporary umbrella organization, which will be formalized at some time in the future, but we will be functioning as one Grenada body from tomorrow afternoon.
And one last point, Nigel, I come from, development more on the economic side. And I mean, this is just unbelievable, this work, and because I learn a lot in terms of, because I always think in terms of GNP and GDP and stuff like that. And now I'm saying, which come first, identity, cohesiveness, all these symbols and icons that describe a space where people populate, it's just unbelievable. So it even having me rethink this whole thing about development.
I understand what you're saying there quite clearly. Yeah.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's been good, and we have gone over time again, and I apologize, but I certainly appreciate the discussion that we've been having. Hopefully, we're inching toward greater and greater understanding and action.
And then we can doctor it.
And so, if we have permission from you all, we can call it a day. So tomorrow, come with your recommendations. Think about what you'd like to see, and then be prepared to bring it to the table. Okay.
Right.
Nigel, we have homework and we have summary and all of that. So anybody in Zoom land wants to summarize today's activities? And any homework question, Nigel?
Well, the question is really, come reflect on the process.
Weeks, yeah.
And what we want to achieve, and then come prepared to say it, to ventilate it. We're a democratic practice, no?
Yep.
Right.
All comments, ideas, perspectives are welcome.
Okay. Good.
That's the homework.
Okay.
So have you chosen your favorite student for today?
Well, I was hoping Zoomland. Yeah. Oh, I was hoping Zoomland will do it, but I'm not sure if Zoomland is ready. How about Rena in Zoomland?
Man, I went to Rena immediately. It must be that yellow.
Yeah.
Yes, Rena?
Yeah. You have to unmute. Yeah.
Thank you, Rena. Thank you.
Rena is in the room there?
No, she's out in Zoom and Ether.
Oh, well, maybe Dario. Dario? Marina is not there. Dario?
Tell me,
Yes, Dario?
tell me.
Tomorrow, you want to summarize what you learned today and reflect on the day's proceedings tomorrow?
Wow, no. Thank you very much. No, but I'll be there.
Yeah, that's
Dario is
I,
very
I
shy.
think it should be people that aren't talking in this whole week. Pick somebody that we didn't hear from.
Angus, maybe Angus, you can put it in historical context for us tomorrow? Angus Martin? Is he there? Everybody left.
I don't know. We see in the
Angus is not there.
Sounds
Yeah,
like
just put everything in context. You know, I think you have a reach.
I haven't been
what
through
Grenada
the
is like,
entire
ICH
day's
wise.
event, so I would miss stuff.
yeah. So that would be like a Angus isn't there. Sounds like a local folk tale. It's Ghost of Angus.
yeah,
Yes or no?
yeah, man.
Angus
Let's
is
see,
missing in
let's see.
action.
Okay.
Los Exitos.
Yes, Angus. It'd be good to hear from you.
Thank you, sir. Was that greatest hits?
All right, so Angus it is then. So the volunteer Angus.
Mhm.
All right, then.
Okay.
Well, let's sign off then, ladies and gentlemen. Have a good evening. We'll be sending the PowerPoints. Adriana will be sending the PowerPoints on to you a little bit later.
Okay, and thanks again, Nigel. Wonderful.
Yes, sir. You're welcome. You're welcome. Enjoy your evening, everybody.
Yeah. Mhm. Yes, man. Excellent. Hmm? Just going to, boy.
Uh-huh.